My earliest GAA memory was playing the under-9 parish leagues back home in Cloughjordan when I was 6 or 7.
My earliest GAA memory would probably be going up to my local club on a Sunday morning for training, yeah. So I used to go up under 6s there and hurl away on a Sunday morning.
I remember playing on a B team when I was about 5, I'd say, because Dad was the manager and we'd run out of players. So I'd say the jersey was probably down to my boots.
Probably 97 All-Ireland. I was probably 6. It was massive getting ready for it in school. Mars Fitz kicked about 10 points and yeah, that's definitely the first one really.
My earliest GAA memory was going down to Tyrone senior training when I was 5 or 6. Danny Norton used to make the tea and Declan Connolly was the manager at the time, used to bring out the cakes and the biscuits. And we were young lads at the time and that was the highlight of our week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, going down to them trainings.
Just as well I wasn't doing anything there when you caught me on camera earlier on. Plenty of interesting and brilliant memories there. Doesn't it always feel like Tommy's about to say something that's just going to make you laugh out loud funny? Kieran, speaking of early memories, what was yours?
I think Mikey Sheehy was handing out the under-8s medals, I'd say, as he was an Aston Stacks man, obviously one of the all-time greats, and yeah, going down and winning and getting a medal off of Mikey blowing Connolly Park for my club Aston Stacks was my earliest memory.
Oh my God, brilliant. It's just kind of one of those things that obviously lives with you forever. I'm sure there's a lot of younger guys there saying the exact same thing about you. That's probably their early memory. Well, time now to remind you of how the first round went for the Division 1 of the Alliance Football League. Mayo just got over the line against Roscommon in extreme conditions in McHale Park. James Horan's first league game back, of course. Monaghan arguably the best win of the weekend, beating Dublin in Clonus. Galway got their league campaign off to a good start, defeating Cavan. And Kerry got off to the perfect start under Peter Keane with a 4-point win over Tyrone. And here is what round 2 looks like this weekend. Dublin host Galway in Croke Park, looking for their first win of the league on Saturday night. Then we have 3 games with throw-ins on Sunday. Kerry travel to Cavan, looking to make it back-to-back victories. Roscommon and Monaghan face off in Dr. Hyde Park. And Mayo are en route to Tyrone to wrap up really the weekend action. So don't forget that Dublin against Galway in a repeat of last year's league final is live on Airsport 1 from 6:30 on Saturday. Well, this is where now you come into your own. We're talking about all things football. I can see this is the part. Like, there was so many games last weekend, but I suppose let's just look ahead now to the ones this weekend because we've got some brilliant games in store. From your point of view, right, for the Dublin Galway game, let's go with that one first. I mean, Dublin don't lose that often. They certainly don't lose back-to-back that often. Do you think now there's going to be a little bit more bite in Dublin's attack this time around?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll be relishing welcoming Galway to Croke Park. You know, it's this Dublin team are going for 5 in a row for no reason. They're a serious outfit. You know, they'll be hurting a small bit after the result of the weekend, especially. Which would be unlike them to be in a comfortable position at the stage and have it slip away from them and not be able to claw back. And I think they'll be really looking to come out and kind of just let everybody know that they're not. Don't write them off just yet, because I heard some stuff during the week about that they're weak here and there's areas here that they can be targeted and all. Like, this Dublin team is a serious outfit, and I think they'll be able to prove that on Saturday night. They
were just off the plane, in fairness, in their team holiday as well. Speaking about Galway for a second, what do you think, Eamon, is the difference between, or do you notice any difference between the 2018 and the 2019 Galway that we see?
Yeah, well, Galway last year, and since Kevin Walsh has taken over, they've set up a really strong defensive system. And then up top, they've got great individuals in terms of Damien Comer, Shane Walsh.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that link between the big fad word transition, they're really lacking a transition, and their counter-attack, you know, it's not really clicking all of the time. This year, Killian McDade is back from Australia, and they're playing him wing forward. For me, he's one to watch, but at the same time, now they've got a case where they've got 2 wing forwards who are both 2 wing backs, Johnny Heaney, Killian McDade, and the last Peter Cook playing in the centre forward position. He's a midfielder. I don't know what you think, Kieran, in terms of that link. How did Galway go from being a really strong defensive team to having the whole package?
Yeah, I think they'll try and kind of, you know, take what the base that they put into the team last year, which is what they were really hard to break down. You know, we came across it in the league game in Tralee, and they were just you know, it was very hard. We didn't get any goal chances. And obviously they beat us in Croke Park in the Super 8s. And again, we were, you know, very short of ideas on how to cope with them. So they're getting their bodies back. But as you say, it's that transition. And, you know, they're starting with a midfielder and 2 half-backs in their half-forward line the last day. They will be solid. And, you know, I think it's probably a guy like Shane Walsh who has all that potential that's going to have to become that guy that comes out and starts winning dirty ball out around the half forward. Like they're good at getting their few hand passes into the back, and then they want to move it. But sometimes that outlet isn't there. Somebody making that hard run isn't there. And I think Shane has to become that guy. He has to become the real hard, tough ball winner. And there's no real highlights in it. You come out, you win the ball, you give it off to some fella coming off your shoulder, and then they're kicking it into Damien Comer inside. And I think that's where they're breaking down slightly.
Yeah, but speaking of kicking it into Damien Comer inside, what I found in Championship was when Galway kicked the long high ball in, you know, in over the defence of Dublin, like they got the goal, they caused problems. Do you see that as a style of play that Galway might be able to adapt, like, for this game?
Certainly in Damien Comer, they've got a guy, which is a great luxury for players out the field to have, that can win the ball out in front and is very strong winning in his chest, but can also compete over his head. And, you know, you may even see it more on Saturday night with the mark. You know, they might try it a bit more because if he wins it in there now, he can land and pop it over the bar, or if he lands with momentum, he can turn, take on his man and get a goal. So, you know, but looking towards the Championship as well as the game Saturday night, they will be looking to definitely get him more quality ball. I thought at stages last year, you know, they resorted, I think they may have been tired coming to the end of games with all the running back that they were doing, and I think a lot of it was what we do, we'll kick it in and hopefully he wins it. Exactly, So I think they really have to look at the quality, because he's such a good ball winner. He's good at taking, he's going to ask you serious questions every time he gets it. Like when he turns and puts his head down, you know, he's like a bull in a china shop. You better get out of the way.
I wouldn't mind having him, to be fair. Well, I suppose, like, I mean, speaking, you spoke about Monaghan, their effective use of the mark. Do you think Galway are going to do the same? And more importantly, do you think Dublin are going to be ready for it this time round?
Yeah, I think that Monaghan are set up for the offensive mark. You know, they leave 2 inside, generally speaking, anyway, especially when Conor McManus comes in there. He loves to be the man on his own. He's always thinking about where he can get the ball for his score. He plays for a free a lot of the time, so now he's playing for a mark, so it's pretty much a similar thing. Galway, even though the traditional footballing team, one of the reasons why a lot of the Galway public aren't behind this team as much as they could be is because they don't actually kick the ball that often. And not even that they don't kick the ball that often, they don't even have that actually, you know, that's too many great kick passers. So yeah, I can't see Galway exploiting it in the same way. One of the things that will be very interesting for me will be if Evan Comerford starts again in goal. Looking at it, it's very harsh to be comparing anyone to Stephen Cluxton, but if you're wearing the number 1 jersey after he wears it, you have to be. Dublin the last day had 76% of their kickouts they won. Stephen Cluxton, the All-Ireland final last year, 94%. Last year, his average was just under 90%. You know, it's quite a considerable drop, and a lot of the kickouts they lost the last day were straight after an important score or an important moment. Is that safety net gone? How important is that, especially even as an opposition? If you're playing against Dublin and you don't see Stephen Cluxton in there, you know, does that give you a boost? Oh,
it has to give you a boost, yeah. He's like, you know, we're Super Bowl week, we're getting ready to watch Tom Brady this Sunday as well. And that's what Stephen Cluxton is for Dublin. He's the guy that slows it at the right time, he speeds it up at the right time, he's the calming influence. Very hard to rattle. A lot of teams have tried, but it's really hard to do it on a sustained period or to break him. You know, he's not a guy that breaks. He's their leader that way. And I think when he has the ball down, you know, he just does the right thing at the right time, and he's got unbelievable patience. I've been inside there in front of him, shimmying over and back, roaring to the referee.
You heard it here first.
Roaring to the referee. How long is this guy going to take? He's standing there. He's waiting for someone to fall asleep out the pitch. Somebody eventually does, after 30 or 40 seconds, hint to the referees to speed it up. 30 or 40 seconds to wait, and then he hits this arrow, you know, 40 or 50 yards. And not only is a Dublin player winning it, he's winning it on the turn. And I almost think they've it nearly a step ahead to where the inside guys see the movement happening, see where he's going to win it half turned. And I'd say, like, I've watched some of their games from behind the goals. They've their movement started before the guy even wins it. So, you know, he is certainly a huge player for them. And yeah, it's tough on Evan to be compared to him, but look, that's the nature of the beast, I'm afraid.
Suppose, I mean, like, it's definitely going to be a mouth-watering clash for sure. But let's move on out to some of the other fixtures. I mean, Kerry, Cavan. Kerry seem to be playing with a changed style, you know, more cautious nearly. I mean, how are Kerry fans adopting to that less traditional style that what we've known to see from Kerry? Well,
Kerry fans will have to get over it because we won last week against the All-Ireland runners-up. We won by 4 points fairly comfortably. So, you know, everything that Peter Keane would have been trying to kind of instill into the guys would be absolutely, he's trying to instill, you know, his philosophy. He's got Tommy Griffin there, who was a very good fullback, who read the game for a centre-back midfielder, was always a great team guy. So I'm sure he would be strongly emphasising team defence, watch the ball, helping other guys. And, you know, you could see that the weekend. They were very solid. They never really looked under pressure. Tyrone never really got through on a goal chance. And if you compare that to the first league game last year, I was at it up in the crowd watching, and Donegal got 3 goals and could have had 4 or 5. So I'd say Peter would have been, you know, maybe his first prerogative would be just to make Kerry solid. And he knows he's got the David Cliffords and the Donaghues and the Gainies that once you get them solid and get the ball up there, you're going to be a match for anybody. So, you know, Kerry haven't put 2 wins back-to-back in the first 2 games of the league in a long time, I would figure. So I would say that that would be a huge emphasis for them on Sunday to get the win up here and to be sitting top of the table after 2 games. And that'd be a pretty good place for Kerry to be. I
mean, just speaking about, I suppose, Kerry's defence, I mean, 2 points is what they kept Tyrone from play. Like, Donny Buckley is clearly doing a lot of defensive work and effective defensive work with Kerry.
Yeah. Well, when Donny Buckley came into Mayo, you know, the Mayo players and everyone talking in Mayo have been raving about him. Any team that he's ever, any club team, underage team that he's ever come into, he instills a massive, you know, a lot of intensity in the tackling, and the last day, Tyrone scored 2 points from play, and you know, from people who were at the game, I wasn't at the game myself, but people who were at the game were saying that Kerry had a blanket, which is pretty much unheard of for Kerry. So, you know, are Kerry fans going to accept that, first of all? But second of all, you were involved with Donny Buckley in 2011. What is the kind of emphasis you've seen, and are you seeing kind of a bit of that already?
Well, to be honest, Donny, you know, we had him in 2011 excellent in the tackle. You know, they would have done a lot of work in the tackle. So I presume between himself, Peter and Tommy Griffin, that has been an area. And it's not so much, I don't know how much emphasis Donny's had on him yet. You know, he was away, he's back a few weeks. I would say their shape was important to them the last day, and just to be solid. You know, they were down a few bodies. And I think it was very much a case of, let's get a win here and let's get our reign. You know, Peter Keane's first game in charge would have been about winning, you know, and I think Kerry know the footballers we have. We're never going to be a so-called all-out defensive team, but, you know, at certain stages of certain games, you know, we won the All-Ireland in 2014 by, you know, people perceived us to be playing very defensive. All we did was tell our 2 half-backs not to go forward, you know, not to follow our men's down and fall into the trap of getting caught up there, turned over, and in loads of space. So I would say he would have been keeping it very solid the last day, and it bodes well for the future.
People are going to be looking out for that now to see that. So moving on, I suppose, as well now to Tyrone Mayo. Like, it's Mayo's 21st consecutive year in Division 1 football. I mean, that's extraordinary. And obviously now with James back, you know, he's looking to, you know, to lay his marker down. I mean, how do you see that game going?
The game of the weekend for me. Tyrone will be hurting after their performance, you know, because no matter what Kerry did, and Kerry made it tough, and maybe they weren't ready for that, but, you know, Tyrone will be still saying, hold on a minute, we were in an All-Ireland final last year, what was that about? 7 points, 2 points in play. There'll be serious questions asked in that camp, and knowing Mickey has always been a great man to get an answer out of his team. Absolutely. Mayo will be after winning a great battle, you know, James will be delighted with that, you know. You're down there, you're playing in reckless conditions. It's all, like, that game was all about the win, and I think for Mayo to get it in such a close margin and James to be back in the hot seat, it just bodes well for them going into this game. So I think this will be a very interesting one the weekend, and one I'm looking forward to watching.
And you're not the only one looking forward to it. And finally then, we're going to have Roscommon and Tyrone. How do you think that's going to go?
Yeah, for me, home advantage.
Roscommon, Monaghan even, geez.
Home advantage is huge in this. Last week in Division 1, all the teams who were at home won their games. Roscommon this year have 4 of their 7 games at home. So this game for me is must win for Roscommon. The other 3 teams to play at home is Dublin, Kerry and last year's finalist Tyrone. So they'll be really targeted on this one. Yeah, like even 2 years ago when Roscommon had a really dismal Division 1 campaign, they had 3 home games. They bet Cavan and they lost by a point to Donegal in the earlier rounds, and that was kind of a massive swinger. If they'd won that game, and it could have went either way. The momentum is a massive thing when you're in a survival battle, and that's what they are. So for me, Monaghan will be trying to build the momentum in one way, and Roscommon are
take the game to Roscommon like they did.
Where Roscommon you can expect to have massive numbers back again, and they're just kind of obviously trying to halt a losing momentum, and you know they'd take massive confidence from a win, and who knows then.
Well, I can't wait to be back here this time next week and we'll be chatting about all that action. Time for another break now. Don't forget we're on all the usual platforms at Air Sport, and we'll get your questions later on the show. And also we're going to preview the second round of the Alliance Hurling Leagues. We'll be back in a few.
Supporting all 32 counties.